Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum and its valuation against Bitcoin and against USD. If you like the content, please subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 80,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Also, check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So, obviously, there's a bit of excitement today with Ethereum as the price rallied to the top, the local top, at around just under $720. So we have officially hit a $700 Ethereum for the first time since May of 2018. So it's been a long journey. We've recovered to essentially half of the prior all-time high. Now, just to get our base, our basics down, the bull market support for Ethereum now ranges from 457 to 470. Now, that might seem like a pretty significant drop, but recognize that if Bitcoin corrects, Ethereum would correct too. So we just want to make sure that we always know where it is. We're not saying it's going to go down there today or tomorrow or even next month. By that point, it'll probably even be over $500 if the price continues moving up. But we just want to make sure we know where it is. Okay. Now, what we said, we've been making a lot of videos recently saying that any given day you can wake up and Ethereum might be up 10%. Okay. But as I've said before, don't schedule your Forbes interview just yet, right? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Ether Bitcoin valuation, no matter how you look at it, it's still 0.0256. Okay. It's not like it's great by any means. But it just goes to show you how quickly sentiment can change, right? And we said this before. Sentiment can change on a dime. You have one wick down, we come back up. Now a lot of people seem super bullish about Ethereum, and maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it will continue this momentum up. But remember, we are still very much under Bitcoin's rule. Bitcoin can grab any type of bullishness back from Ethereum whenever it wants to. Okay, all it has to do is maintain high levels of volatility. If it goes up, if it comes down very quickly, this is not going to be good for Ethereum. You can see these are 1 hour candles. Bitcoin right now, of course, it's always subject to change. Bitcoin is currently on a downtrend. Okay, it's currently on a downtrend, but it's not a very rapid downtrend, right? It's a slow bleed. If you take a look at this, it was around 27.8 here at 11 o'clock, and let's just grab this, and now we are 11 hours later, and we've come down about 5% or so. So we went from 27.8 down to 26.4. That's about $1,400 over the span of 11 hours. So I mean, it's a bleed, right? But again, it's not. Is it a huge capitulation down 30%? Not yet. And during this time, Ethereum has been in fact showing some strength. Okay, it has been showing some strength. It is now back to around 677. The Ether Bitcoin valuation is around 0.0255, 0.0256. Okay, so it's looking okay in the short term, but again, we want to remain resolute with the idea that even if there can be daily moves that are quite impressive, it doesn't mean anything is necessarily changed yet. Cautiously optimistic is what I always say, right? You can be cautiously optimistic about it, but recognize that Bitcoin can grab the reins back whenever it wants to. And if we go over to the monthly candles, so we're going to look at monthly candles. One of the ones we've talked about before is this 20-month moving average of the Ether Bitcoin valuation. The reason we talk about it is just because it appears like a good support area in the past during a bull market, and during a bear market, it tends to hold as a resistance level. Okay? And the reason why we talk about this is because we've come back down to it. If you guys remember the first half of the year, we were talking about the 20-month moving average in almost every other video. And now that we're back down to it, I think it merits further discussion. We have come down below it, as you guys know, But again, we came down below it on 3 of these 4 monthly candles. They were all just wicks. So hopefully we'll close above it. But ultimately, this is what we want. We will want to keep an eye on this. And currently, the valuation at that moving average is 0.0251. So we're slightly above it right now. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is this moving average. So this one, as you can see, is the 50-month moving average. The reason why we're talking about this one is because this is identically where the wick went to at its local top. Okay, you guys remember back in September, Ethereum had a major move against Bitcoin. The wick went straight to the 50-month moving average, right? You can see it, straight to it. I don't think it's just a coincidence. It's literally stopped on the 50-month moving average. Now, to give you an idea, if we were to go back to that level, so let's suppose that this monthly candle ends somewhere in this ballpark, and let's suppose that the January monthly candle brings us back up. This is obviously a huge assumption, and Ether would stand to continue to go down against Bitcoin if Bitcoin volatility remains high, and if it pushes to 30K, 35K, we would expect Ether to lose value against Bitcoin. However, if this is the point where Bitcoin finally cools off and does not have a rapid drop, then next month, maybe Ether Bitcoin will have a good month to get us back within this general reaccumulation band, okay? And then following that, maybe we'll continue the run into, say, February and continue moving up. If we eventually get back to this level, it might correspond to a valuation of around 0.041, 0.042. Now, the reason why we like to look at that is because if you take, say, 0.041 and multiply it by the current price of Bitcoin, of course, we know the price of Bitcoin is subject to change, but if the price of Bitcoin were to stay constant, which it won't, we know it won't, so it's a silly assumption, but we make silly assumptions sometimes, we'll multiply it by 26,500, and that would actually give us an Ether valuation against USD of $1,086.50. So we could be, if we come back up to that local top and reach that same Ether Bitcoin valuation, and the Bitcoin valuation stays constant, then it would imply close to $1,100 Ethereum. Now, Ether recently has been getting completely hammered by Bitcoin. So hopefully we will see it turn around soon. Now, the one thing we can look at, and we've looked at it before, is the daily RSI. I'm not like the biggest fan of RSIs because a lot of times they can stay at various levels for really long periods of time, so it's not like they're necessarily that helpful. If you look at some other coins, Chainlink is a great example where the RSI that it hit yesterday was like twice as low as it ever had been before. So there's definitely reasons to be somewhat skeptical about using them. But I do think a lot of people are generally interested in the relative strength index, and it is a good way to get an idea, generally speaking, if a coin is overbought or oversold. And one of the things we've talked about is, and I'm sure most people know this on the channel now, that Ethereum tends to have a major move against Bitcoin starting either in December or January. It's more likely to happen in January because 3 of the 5 years had happened in January, 2 of the 5 years of the prior years had happened in December. But the interesting thing is to see where the daily RSI of Ether Bitcoin bottomed each of those years. So in the first year, it bottomed at around 30 or 31. In the following year, in December, it bottomed here at around 23, 24. The following year in December, it bottomed at around 24. The following year in December, it actually, that's September, in the following December, it actually bottomed also at around 24. So we have a lot of them around the 23 to 24 range. If we continue going over, the following year, it bottomed at around 20 in December. And so far this year, we've made it to around 24. So if we were to go over from where we currently are, we can see that 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 of the 5 turnaround points in December happened essentially at the current RSI or higher. we're sort of giving it a little bit of wiggle room here because we can see these are slightly lower. We went all the way down to around 25, 24. These were around 23, 23.5, 24. We're essentially in the ballpark of them. So just something to keep in mind. It obviously doesn't mean we're gonna necessarily turn around at this point definitively and consistently, but the daily RSI now has come all the way back up to 38. Again, it does not necessarily preclude Ether from continuing to be devalued against Bitcoin, but it's just one of those trends we'd like to keep an eye on. If we switch back over to, say, the weekly time frame, so this is where we currently are, and I suppose this moving average here, this pink one, is, I guess, the 50-week moving average, right? I think that's the 50-week moving average, and the last weekly candle came down to that one, and then the next one, instead of holding it as support, we came all the way back down. And this green one here, as you can see, is the 20-week. And once we dropped below that, straight to the 50-week, back up to the 20-week, back to the 50, and now we've capitulated even lower. So hopefully in the coming weeks we can get back up and come back above the 20-week moving average and get very bullish again, like we were for the better part of 2020. You can see for the most part, we spent most of the time of 2020 above the 20-week moving average of the Ether Bitcoin valuation. Now, however, we are pretty significantly down below it. Ether USD right now is at 681. It was at $700 earlier, and we just want to stay level-headed here. Yes, this is a good move, but in terms of the Bitcoin valuation, it is still underperformed significantly in the last 3 months. If you look at, say, since March, Ether and Bitcoin have essentially given the same return. Okay, let's just take a quick look at this. So if you go back to March, and we're going to go all the way back down to the bottom of the wick for Bitcoin at around 3,850 or so, up to the current price, it has returned a 584% return. Ether, on the other hand, from March, from the bottom of the wick, has returned around 648%. So 584 for Bitcoin, 648 for Ethereum. So obviously, since the bottom, Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin. This is expected, but they are getting somewhat close, and so we would like to see Ethereum make a move against Bitcoin to further justify holding the asset in the first place, right? Because with all the extra risk, you want to make sure eventually it does outperform. So obviously, we will keep a close eye on it in Q1 to see if it will continue to overperform Bitcoin in Q1 like it has many other years. Now, again, as I said before, I want to reiterate, there's no guarantee. I don't want people to think that it has to go up in January. Again, I don't know if it will or not. We just look at past data and use that information to try to inform our decisions. That's what I do. Again, it's not financial advice. It's a risk. There's no free lunch, right? It's a risk you can take. So far, accumulation of Ethereum seems to be paying off quite well. And in terms of say, and we'll do another video on this later, but in terms of the regression band for Ethereum, the fair value, according to the regression band, is around 295. So we're well above the fair value. The upper part of the band is around 420, and the lower part is at 207. Again, we can spend significant amounts of time above the band, just like we have in the past. Okay, you can see we spent a lot of time above it in the past. So I hope this video has been useful. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, we also do have the premium list if you want access to weekly premium reports, weekly premium videos, the risk dashboard, the trading view indicators, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room if you're looking for a community. You get access to a whole lot of things. Make sure you check out the holiday sale. We'll keep it going a bit longer. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.